Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I'm your humble host, David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers. And it is Saturday afternoon, March the 2nd, 2019. And I greet you as always, but I greet you fondly and from my heart and my soul's heart. I greet you with love and the honor and the respect that you deserve from the universe. And I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the blessings and so forth from the universe. So, today I'm always messages for those of you. Oh, by the way, I'm sitting outside, and this is the windows on my south facing house. So I just thought I'd sit out here and this is what the outside of my house looks like. It's old barn wood, and I built it myself, and it works really good when the sun works. And so I just thought I'd sit out here and do a little preaching on a Saturday. Now, I mean this by preaching because I'm going to be quoting from the Bible, and having been raised a Catholic and a Christian. Hello, Melanie. I got this Bible from a lady through an auction, and she was a Bible teacher, a music teacher, and I've had this Bible for, I don't know, 20 years probably. And it was an old Bible back then. And it just says in the beginning, because I like to kind of prove what I'm reading here, this is the text conformable to that of the edition of the 1611, commonly known as the Authorized or King James Version, but there is no published date. But I can tell by the pages and by the coloring of the print, it's probably in the 30s, 40s, maybe even the 20s. But I would guess late 30s or the 40s. So, but anyway, so this is the Bible I'll be reading from. And in some of my previous videos, I've discussed, the disparity between rich people, poor people, and all that kind of stuff. Now, I am totally against all of us just going up and beating them up and taking their money. I'm just against that. If it isn't given freely, then what's the point? And so in many of my discussions and things, there is a disparity, and we all know it. I mean, if the rich folks just paid their fair share in Social Security, I could get a one or two or maybe even $300 a month raise. Oh my gosh, what that could do for my, for me being able to do things and to support myself. But now this isn't about that. But it is, but it isn't. I'm not going to be, beating people up. But in looking for answers and things, the Bible opened up today. I was looking for something in Revelations, and what actually came out was St. James, chapter 2. And actually, most of the chapter is appropriate. I'm going to skip around towards the end, and maybe skip a verse or two to get more to the point. But this whole particular chapter or gospel or whatever has to do basically with what I've been discussing. So I bring this up to, and I will just read it as best I can. And thank you for hanging out with me. Melanie, blessings to you and to anyone else who may join this. So St. James, chapter 2, all right? My brethren, have not the faith of our Lord Jesus, the Lord of glory, with respect of persons, all of us. For if there came unto your assembly, meaning a church, with a gold ring and a goodly manner and apparel, and there came also a poor man in vile raiment, he was shabby clothes, and ye have respect to him, that wealth and the gay clothing, interesting word there, gay clothing, and say unto him, sit thou here in a good place, and then say to the poor, stand thou there, or sit here under my footstool. Verse 4, are ye not then partial in yourselves, and are become judges of evil thoughts? Now, the last couple of videos I've done, I've talked about how we've lost our faith and how in different ways, the old ladies club to sit and look at all the other little old ladies and go, oh, bless her little heart, after they, diss her, So anyway, chapter 5. Hearken, my beloved brethren, hath not God chosen the poor of this world, rich in faith, and heirs of the kingdom, which he hath promised to them that love him? Verse 6. But ye have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seats? How many people go to court for the dumbest of things? Child support. How can a father support his child if he keeps getting thrown in jail due to the laws? Just saying. And it's happening. All right. Verse 8. If ye fulfill the royal law according to the scriptures, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, then ye do well. Verse 9. But if ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin. In other words, if you force me to respect you, that's wrong. Okay. Wait, I lost my place. Thou shalt, I already read, ye commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors. Verse 10. For so whoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. So, in other words, when I've been talking about the universal law, do no harm. So, if you do harm in any way, then you pretty much messed up the. And some people would say, "Oh my God, you're talking about shamanism in the Bible." Well, Jesus and many of these saints were shamans in their own right. They walked in the path of the light. These are the ways they talked to people back in those days. And some of the conversations I've had are very similar. We just use different words, but the meaning is the same. And the understanding from the shaman point of view, and as we as messengers on this earth, as being true spirit beings, we need to understand these things. And now I think the best thing we can do is make folks aware of these things. We can jump up and down, but if we shake our fist and say, you owe us, and you need, I say, and I've said this before, I think we should shame them. Do you mean you make all that money and you can't pay your fair share? Why can't you pay your fair share? Rather than you should pay, well, you're not, give us your money. Nah, that ain't going to work. There's got to be another way. And to shame people into paying their fair share is our best result. And it works. If you point the finger at people enough, they're going to like, wait a minute, we need to change our image. Okay. All right. So that was verse 10. And I'll repeat it. For so whoever shall keep the whole law and yet offend in one point, he and she is guilty of all. Verse 11. For he that saith, do not commit adultery, said also, do not kill. Now, if thou commit no adultery, yet if thou kill, thou art become a transgressor of the law. Now, that's very extreme. But verse 12. So speak ye and so do. In other words, walk the talk, do as they say. Wait, I'm sorry. And start over. So speak ye and so do. In other words, do what you say and so do. As they that shall be the law of liberty. Verse 13. For he shall have judgment without mercy, and that house showed no mercy, and mercy rejoiceth against judgment. 14. What doth it profit, my brethren, though a man may say he hath faith and have not works? In other words, you can talk about giving to the poor, but you give $10 and call it even, when you got more. That's just a bad example, but there it is. And a man say that he hath faith and have not works. Can faith save him? 15. If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warmed and fulfilled, notwithstanding ye give them nothing, none of these things. In other words, you say, oh, go have a nice day, but you don't give them any sustenance or help to clothe their bodies. And not those things which are needful to the body. What doth it profit that person? 17. Even so, faith, if it doesn't have any works, is dead and being alone. So those folks who withhold for whatever reason, usually it's greed or whatever, or it's mine, and whatever. Oh, I think I already do enough. If you're a millionaire, give up half your salary and then say you've done something. Just saying, you can't live on 500 grand. Boy, I could. Boy, the people I could put to work. Anyway, 18. Yes, a man may say, thou hast faith and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works. In other words, if there are people that I know who don't have any particular religious, they're Christian backed, but Buddhist backed. They're like me, hippie types, but we believe in more than just a church. We don't believe that money should even, be put into these churches and things. Let's build affordable homes. Let's build a cafeteria. We can hold a service in a cafeteria. Do we have to build a multi-million-dollar church that doesn't do anything but quote praise the God? And if the true God were really looking down upon us, he'd go, what are you doing? But anyway, that's for another subject. But in that, though, this is what is important. There are people who put their faith in a false work. In other words, we built a multi-million-dollar church and we worship in it, and we build an annex, and we do these things, but it's all about the church and not about the people. There's still naked people. There are still homeless people knocking at the church doors, and the churches are going, well, I don't know, it's not up to us to help you. Wait a minute, you're preaching the Bible and they're knocking on your door and you go, it's not up to us to help you? Are you serious? But it's happening all the time. Too much, actually. All right, so verse 19, thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. Interesting. Verse 20, but wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? Interesting. I just think that's an interesting statement. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? So there are a lot of Bible thumpers out there who are preaching the Lord, but are they really doing anything about it? Just saying. I'm not trying to pass judgment. They got to answer this question, but it's in their book. That's my point. So, practice before you preach, Then there's a couple of verses about Abraham, our father, and justified by his works. 24, ye see that by the works a man is justified and not by faith alone. In other words, you got to do something for God. There are times I get $1,000 a month in Social Security. I used to make $750 a month from my job. So I took a great cut in pay. But to the point, though, I still have my basic necessities. So, and I've had to learn over the many years that I've been doing this video and have talking with other people and in myself. It's like, oh, but don't I need that? Well, no, I really don't. Well, can I get away with it? Yeah, I don't really need that either. And do I need to eat all that food? Actually, no, I don't. I've cut my, diet in half easily, and I'm still just cranky and healthy. I'd like to be able to get out more, but that's more of a brain thing. That's a separate subject. But to go on with this, though, verse 25, likewise also Was not Rahab the harlot justified by works when she had received the messengers, meaning the angels, and, and had sent them out another way? For as the body without the spirit is dead. How about that one? I mean, this is the last verse of chapter 2, 26. For as the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead also. End of the chapter. So I just wanted to, in my preachings and discussions about things and so forth, I'm always seeking a backup. Like, okay, I know there's a Bible verse in there somewhere because I've read the Bible over the many years, and I've studied other things too. But as I was looking for one thing, the angels today led me to what I just read. And I'm just going to reflect on that for a few minutes while I'm sitting outside and watching the clouds move back in. There was thunder a little bit ago. We've got scattered showers right now. I checked the rain gauge just a bit ago before I started this video, and we got almost 2 inches of rain in the last 3 days. So that's encouraging. Not that we're dry here, but it was encouraging to see more rain. Helps the river. The river still isn't flowing the way it should, but it's better. We got good rain today. Um, there's still thunder in the background, so if you hear a loud rumble, that's thunder to the north. This is the south face of my house, and yeah, it's about 20 something feet tall. It goes way up there. And by the way, since I'm just looking at it at the moment, that's old tobacco barn wood, and wood that I tore off of old homes and brought and cleaned it up and put it on the side of the house. Rich and Delaney, blessings. How are you? How are you? Haven't seen you in a while. I hope everything's been going well with you. But I'm just showing off. There were some people here when they were like, "You built that out of old tobacco barn wood?" And I was like, "Actually, yes. I tore the tobacco barns down and cleaned the wood up, and then used it on my house." And I got to thinking, I've been here on this property, 30 something years, 34 years, I think. And that means that the wood on my house up here and above, and these windows right over here, they've been there for a good part of 30 years. And I come out here with some mineral oil and stuff like that. I'm people, why don't you paint? The paint would have peeled 2 or 3 times by now. I tried it. And so I'm like, the wood's better off just being wood. And there are times I think, oh my God, it's going to fall off. And I get up on the ladder and I knock on the wood and go, well, it's still there. It's still working, But my point to that is there is so much useful resources that we as a society bulldoze over and say, well, we can't use it because it's used, and which is just totally BS. A lot of my house is made out of recycled materials. This window right here and the one down over here are shower doors, and they've been in the house forever. I mean, the first little cubicle I built on this property was made by those things. But anyway, just and y'all looking at the house, and I thought, well, I would just give you a little bit of a tour. But there. Oh, and these 2 windows right there. Is that right? Yeah. Actually, were doors in a meat case in Pelham, Georgia. And they threw the meat case out, and I couldn't use the case, but I took the windows out. And those 2 windows there have been there for a good 35 years, honest to goodness. So there are all kinds of things you can do to recycle and build. And one of the things that, people that are down along the coast and so forth, I've watched them just bulldoze these big, huge amounts of wood and tin and stuff. Oh, but it was in the hurricane. So straighten it out, cut it up, and if you need to, and overlap it. You can use it for barn sheds, for at least a porch. You can use it for temporary shelter, and they just go in and bulldoze it all up, and nobody uses the resources. Okay, so houses are tore up, so untear them. People ain't got nothing to do. Give them hammered nails and feed them, help them out, but let them clean up the wood. I mean, I've got wood in my house that was burned in the Pelham gym, the Pelham High School gym many years ago, and they had just took out all these big seriously 2x8 and some of them 2x10 beams. But because they were charred on the bottom, they had to be taken out. They're still in my house and probably part of the strongest part of my house because they've been tempered by some of the heat from the gym fire. But the thing is that there are people throwing out things that we could use, you know. And, oh, well, we can't use that because it was, wait a minute, let's cut them off, nail them together. You can build beams that way that are really strong. But anyway, but going back with the thing about staying on topic with today, I think it's important that we attack, be careful how I use this word, how we go about convincing people that if you've really got a lot that you could share, why don't we try to convince them that it's in their best interest to share? And of course, everybody else. But in the spiritual realm of things, if you're sitting on $100,000 and you think, well, and you've got an income and you've got this and you've got that and you've got other income, is there anything that you can do to help out somebody else? If you're honestly got 100,000 in the bank and you got a good income and you don't think that, can you afford to give out $5,000? Could you give somebody a $5,000 break? Could you help somebody out that maybe is $10,000? Well, $10,000 is a tenth of 100,000. Well, okay, but can you give 10%? Well, if you're a true Christian, then you should be willing to give 10% to God. Well, what if you gave 10% of your salary to homeless? What if $10,000 a year meant that you had a house that you could rent out a couple of rooms to some homeless people, maybe help give them a job? Maybe you've got other rental properties. Maybe there's somebody that you know that could get these people to become more functional, to give them something to be to feel good about rather than just bum around the streets. Because a lot of times people are bumming on the streets, they give up hope. So one thing that we can do, and it doesn't cost us a dime, is to try to give people hope. Is there hope in this world? If I didn't believe that, I would have just gave up a long time ago. But I can't, because I sincerely believe that we are in the end days of crappy times. And as I've been speaking before, and I'll continue to speak positive on this, I absolutely believe that we are in the last stages of Revelations. And one of the things that has been brought up here just recently has to do with the Pope. That he's going to resign, that they're going to have, that his term is up or whatever. And what a lot of people don't understand is that he isn't actually the Pope. He is the mayor of Rome, because the other guy resigned, didn't die. And so there's a lot of hidden stuff that a lot of people don't know about. But if he's asked to resign as mayor of Rome and of the Vatican, basically Vatican, I misspoke. He's the mayor of the Vatican. And that's by Catholic prophecy. So do a little research if you don't believe me. But in Catholic prophecy, he is the last pope. So how things are going to turn out, even by Catholic prophecy, we're at the end of something. And it's the end of this crazy time. Now, there's going to be some craziness in that. What I've been speaking about and many others is the transition phase. There are a lot of people who got to be woke up. And when they start realizing that, oh my God, these things, these crazy people have been talking about for all these years, do you mean it's true? Going to be some freaked out people. So some of these things that I discuss, I'm trying to use what's already here to give the example of the Christ consciousness. And I've said many times before, and I will repeat, I believe that several years ago, the Christ consciousness came back to this planet. Now, is it in the sense of it's a single person? I don't know about that. But I do know that there are angel beings here on this planet that made sure that the Christ consciousness is definitely back and on this planet. It's affecting me and other people. These are through the angel messages, and it has nothing to do with religion, but it is all about our spirituality. How can we be better people? And if you take the Bible, if you take Buddha, if you take whoever, it's always about if you have more to give and someone is suffering and you stand by and watch it, sorry, if you simply ignore, well, it's a shame that guy's homeless, I'll just continue to walk by. Or do you have any means whatsoever? Can you afford a quarter a day? If you walk by the same homeless person, can you afford a quarter a day? Well, I don't know. He's homeless. You have no idea what this person is. And is a parable somewhere in the Bible, and Jesus is talking, and he says that you never know if it's me. The Good Samaritan kind of deal. He stopped to help a total stranger. I've done that. People have done that for me. I mean, I've told stories about that, but I would have literally froze to death one night if it hadn't been for a Christian trucker that stopped on the side of the road outside of Monticello, Florida, as I was hitchhiking back up to Georgia. It was cold as snot that morning, and he saved my life, gave me breakfast, and gave me hope and sent me on my way, and everything worked out. But if it hadn't been for him, I'd have froze to death on the side of the road that morning. It was really that bad. It was like 23 degrees, and I had a really light jacket on and a t-shirt. I did have a pair of gloves, but I was dressed for South Florida heading back to Georgia when we got hit by a winter storm. And I just so happened to be on the road with a broke down car outside of Gainesville, High Springs, actually, just off the interstate there. So, but anyway, if you're from that area, High Springs is still there. But to the point, though, I realize it's sprinkling a little bit. I got an oak tree overhead of me here. Let's see if it'll show all the way up to the upstairs there. Anyway, but in thinking about what's going on right now, then the higher vibrations, there are a lot of angel messages coming down the line. And over these past weeks and so forth, I've been knocked out a lot. I'm going to be very honest and up forth. I don't speak about it too much. You just don't see me or hear me. But I've been knocked out. And there are times when I know I have walked somewhere else. I physically can see, smell, taste being someplace else. Now, I know in my shaman journeys and so forth that I have walked in other realms. But those were little short sparks and things, and it was like just a little bit of a taste. This is more like sitting down to a banquet with a 12-course meal, and seeing who's in the room with you and remembering after the fact, and really odd. So I try to stay out of that because I can't prove it to myself, except that there's something in the reality that is different from just having a dream. Just saying. Now, with that said, though, the angel messages that are coming down, and I've noticed that the people that I have been listening to, skeeters are out, dang it, that I've been listening to for many years are saying many of the things I have discussed before, but what they're trying to do is they're emphasizing, hey, we talked about this before, but we really need to stick with this. And that's it. That is, especially during this month of March, which back last year they said that this equinox coming up, I'm sorry, not equinox, autumnal, solstice. The solstice, wait a minute. Well, anyway, it's the first day of spring, okay, here in the Northern Hemisphere, 15th, 17th, along in there. Anyway, that this is going to be a heavy time. And there are a lot of stuff going on, energetically. I just checked the Shaman resonance for today, just before I started this video 30 minutes ago. And it's spiking again. There is a lot of background information. There's a lot of background noise there. And harmonics. They haven't been off the charts, but they're very solid in the background. And they have been persistent now for several weeks. And so it's not that they spike, but if you look at the background colors, you'll notice that where it's supposed to be like a deep blue on the cigarette pack, it's more of an aqua blue, like this color here. Well, and you know what? It's a really close simulation, but the dark blue is like there's nothing. And then the light blue is the harmonics in the background. So my point to this is that we're getting a lot of, sure enough, changes in our system, not just solar, but also cosmically. And this has been foretold, has been told, we've been talking about it, and now it's like there's proof. Just go, to the site where the Schumann residence is, and just look at it over the, over after the last few months or so, over the last few days. But the background noise and the background harmonics is having an effect on all of us. And so, what ET angels are saying is that we need to stay in the faith. We need to stick with our core self. When I did a video the other day about hatred, there were some other folks that kind of popped up and said, in other sites I watched, and it's sort of a synchronicity for me in that they will talk about, I do a video, and a day or so later, or maybe a week, they start talking about the same topic. And I feel like I'm very blessed and humbled by that, because the angels are telling me this subject is important. That's why I have the conversation. And whether it's only 10 views or 2 views, blessings to every one of you, because this is about paying attention, not to me, but to your higher self, and to really zone in on it, and have faith in your own guardian angel. Make sure that it is who it is. Do your little test and make sure. But it's really important. And I know that those of us who hang out on these channels, we're all poor folk, and we do what we can for each other already. And that's a good thing. But now, how do we sway other people to understand that they honestly have more than they need? It's not about should we take it from them, but they should just be kind enough to give it. Create more of something. And you go, well, I don't know if these people really deserve it. Who are, wait a minute, there you go, judging again. So I'm going to keep, if I make $100,000 a year, but 10% is too much for me to give to anything. But wait a minute, isn't that what the tithe is for the church? Just saying. But so give 10% to humanity. Don't give it to a church and have it get funneled and channeled and stolen and rearranged or whatever. Boy, these skeeters are out for real blood. Wow, holy mackerel. They're hungry this spring. They've just hatched. It's been too warm and we've had skeeters hatch. So dagnabbit, time to fight them buggers. I hate that. Anyway, those are some of the critters on this planet. I'm like, God, a few of them wouldn't be too bad, but there's like a gazillion of them. Can you and unfortunately there aren't enough bats. Now there's a female cardinal over there. It's the first one I've seen this spring. And it's the first one I've seen in a year. And there used to be 3 sets that are, well, she flew away. I was going to turn the screen, but anyway. But we need to continue to have faith. So it's like my garden. I've been working out in my garden, and I'm going to do a little clean up a little bit more, and then take a walk through and do a live feed. I think my router will go that far, so I can walk out in the garden. But anyway, I wish I had a better camera, but this works for my purposes. And thank you all for hanging out with me outside. And it is sprinkling just a little bit, but not bad enough to mess up the keyboard yet. And I can pick the whole thing up and be underneath in a second. So, but anyway, I think that we need to approach these rich folks in a totally different way. Thank them for what they've done. Give them kudos, but say, but you have so much. What about helping over here? And then, tweeting and all this other kind of, social media. We as the human race, we got a lot of pull. And if we start ragging somebody enough, I don't mean beating them up and calling them, libtards. No, stay away from all that mess. But just say, don't you have more than you actually need? Shouldn't you share it? That's a hawk. Hawk is one of my bird totems, along with owl. Hawk is the daytime mentor for me spiritually, and owl is nighttime. There are a lot of people who give owl a bad name. And owls in themselves are not evil beings. They're just marvelous birds. But they are attached with darker things, not that they are dark. And Native Americans, they're against owls because owls are known to be the harbingers of bad news. Now, in other tribes, it, owls are the messengers of news, but that a lot of times is bad news. And so there are those cultures who have like taken it one step further, and it's like owls bring all kinds of news. Sometimes there'll be an owl that literally sits in this oak tree right here at the corner of the house. You can almost see it. Yeah, there it is. There, that oak tree there. They sit right up overhead. When I say they're sitting in an oak tree right outside the house, I mean right there. And they'll sit there and just whoo real loud, and it echoes through the woods back here behind me. But owls bring messages, spiritual messages. And there are times when I've had an owl hoot, and that I'll just like stop, and there'll be like a message come in, angel, spirit guide, whatever you want, say, and say, well, wait a minute, what does that mean? Or I might be doing something at that point. An owl will hoot, and they'll be like, wait a minute, I'm doing this thing. It could be a warning to like, be careful what you're doing, or you're on the right path, Hawkeye. Keep doing what you're doing. It works both ways. So, but the thing is that what does the news mean that the owl brings in? So, but anyway, that's slightly off topic from what I started with about John, or I'm sorry, James. Dang, I forgot I got it bookmarked. Anyway, it's starting to sprinkle heavier. But anyway, I just wanted to bring this attention to everybody. All the angel messages that are coming down the pike, and I mean, I'm seeing other folks and other YouTube and other places, and they're all kind of getting the same thing. We got to stick with what we know. We got to understand that we are true spirit beings, like I pointed out in the last verse of the of chapter 2, verse 26. If the body is just a body, if it doesn't include the spirit, if you don't include the spirit, then the body is dead, and so forth. And so that we need to understand this. So it's a very basic thing. And somebody might say, oh well, Hawkeye, you've included the Christian dialogue or the Bible into a shamanistic point of view. Well, Jesus was a shaman. Let's just get this thing. Jesus was a shaman in a good way. He was a preacher. He taught good things. And it's starting to rain very heavily right now. I'm getting my stuff up. It'll flood this my keyboard here in a second. But anyway, maybe I should just wrap and say adios for the moment. But to the point, though, let's rethink this. Let's try to encourage folks who have it to try to share it more, rather than bitch at them all the time for not sharing what they should. That just never works. We need to change our attitude about that. The angels are saying, quite frankly, that, and we can all see it. If if you understand what I mean by the difference between apocalypse and Armageddon, then you will understand that the two are, to me, oh, ow, it hurts to stand up sometimes. The two are distinctly different, and that Armageddon, just to wrap this up, I'm trying to smoke this so I can keep the skeeters away. Armageddon is the war, supposedly to end all wars. And at the same point, though, with Armageddon, the apocalypse is the revelations, is the revealing. So all of us agree that we are in this point of understanding. Hang on for just a half second. I decided I'd just kind of rearrange. Please ignore the mess back there. It looks a lot better, but I still got a long way to go. That's what being crippled in the head will do to you. But of all the things that are going on right now, just from one friend to another, keeping up our spirits, keeping up the humor, you know, there's a lot of crap going on, but we need to try to find a lighter side of things. In fact, I've been kind of getting these downloads like I need to do a little bit of satire once in a while. As a puppeteer and a storyteller, I used to come up with some really off the wall stuff. That was clean comedy with a little hint sometimes of something else, but usually just a hint. And think of Rocky and Bullwinkle. A lot of people would say, you know, your humor is a lot like Rocky and Bullwinkle. Well, I grew up with them guys in the early Mad magazine, you know, and before 1972. They kind of took a dive in there. But anyway, and the early National Lampoon. But I also realized that in my humor and how I look at things, also influenced by uh, Samuel Clemens, Mark Twain, some of the humorous writings that he did, and some of the early, the early um, silent movie folks, you know, Charlie Chaplin, and I was trying to remember this guy's name the other day, and it has still escapes me. But anyway, but to the point though of being able to be humorous, and I've got puppets and things, and so in trying to reawake that person that got lost through my head injury, someone suggested to me that I start doing puppet shows, just little, satirical things, just some nonsense stuff, just for the hell of it, but to get my own practice back and to get that creative spark going in me again. When I used to be able to drop down and do 3 or 4 different character voices without breaking a sweat, I have difficulty now just changing voices or even speaking in one tone anymore. So it's like, therapeutically, it would help me, but at the same time, do it in humor and if nothing else, maybe get you to pee yourself a little bit, because you got busted out laughing a little bit too much, So that would be like, okay, that would be a dream. Everybody go, oh my God, I think I did just a little bit. There's a dribble. Yeah, that's about as sick as I try to get with my humor. Um, Maybe a fart joke once in a while, but you know, um, everything like that can be done a little tastefully, Anyway, oh, the stories I could tell that are slightly dirty, but not. It all depends on the way you want to look at it. So, yeah, about the Lone Ranger got caught one time by the Indians, but anyway, that's one. That's a humorous one. It's not really now to tack it at the end of this, story about the gospel. But to the point though, we've become so filled with hatred and change, and we have gone within inside of ourselves because we've lost faith in so much. So, but it's now time to, and the fact that we all hang out together, the fact that you guys are still here, for example, is testament that it does exist in the universe. We're little tiny small groups, we're the league of like-minded beings, but we exist all over the planet, and we're interchanging and exchanging. And if somebody's not live right now, somebody might text me later and go, sorry, I missed your live feed. Well, I just felt like doing it. It was still light outside. I did have some sunshine, then the storm came in, but to the point, I just thought I would share a little bit of, the Bible and correlate it with these other shaman things that are essential in all of our transitions, because each and every one of us, if you truly believe that you have a soul, then you're automatically a shaman in training. It just goes with the territory. So folks are like, well, you're the god and you're the goddess. Well, in so many ways, yeah. But if we just stick with basic terms, spirit, okay, and it doesn't relate to any religion. It just is a cosmic thing that does exist, and it doesn't require a religion to have faith in it. I mean, a couple of days ago, many of these trees didn't have a leaf on it. And I was like, well, I don't know. And now there are blooms all over. I got strawberries in the garden. Um, Starting to rain a little harder. But I got strawberries blooming in the back. My potatoes are up. I dug down and checked, and I've got some new potatoes. They're about yay big around. About 2.5, 2, 3 thumb widths by. Fresh, organic, right out of the garden. I got new potatoes. All I got to do out is go out there and dig them up, and they were potatoes from last year's crop of potatoes. So I didn't have to go out and get more potatoes. I'm just using the same ones I've had. And as I was digging out there, I dug out a couple of little nuggets of potatoes that are now starting to become potato plants. So it's like, wow. So there's all these little nodes in the ground, but by digging in the dirt and fluffing everything up, I've got more potatoes coming up now. Volunteers. So it's like, sweet. Now I planted a lot of other stuff, but it hasn't come up yet. But it's a little too early. But we got an inch and 3/4 of rain over the last 3 days. So, and it's raining now. Not real hard, but I do see blue through there. Anyway, but with this idea of what we should do and how we should react in this future, it was stated in several other shows that I've seen just in the last couple of days, and in titles as well, has to do with the discussion that I've had before, in that, a lot of people feel like we're in this dark tunnel. But if you think of it as a tunnel, then you should automatically know there's a light at the end of it. And even in Revelations isn't the end, it's the end of times, not the end of times. And this is the end of crappy times. I mean, people are starting to understand, and so much is being awoke, and the Vatican, and the this, and all the crap. Pharmaceuticals, and people are realizing, oh my God, they're finding human tissue in Pepsi Colas and Cokes, and they're finding, oh my God, they were calling meat for this, that, and the other thing. And something that a lot of people don't understand: if you buy something commercially, it gets irradiated by our government. It goes through a radiation machine. So people think that, we're getting all these fresh vegetables. If it's shipped into a major supplier and not organically grown, then it has been irradiated. So you're not getting anything that's worthwhile in your system. If you continue to use a microwave to even heat up water, then you're a dang fool. Throw them out, because they're having, the skeeters. Let me light my cigarette and taste some of them. Smoke. If you're down in the woods, take a nasty cigar and keep it lit. They'll stay away from your head. Tobacco will help keep them away. And it's nice to smoke a really raunchy cigar every once in a while, but anyway. Yeah, I should be okay where I'm sitting for a few more minutes. I like hanging out with you guys. I don't have my glasses and I can't see what you're writing, but, Heidi Ho from South Georgia. But in this cosmic realm of things, all these new energies and stuff that are coming through, the angel messages, other people are picking it all up. And I just feel humbled that I'm just one of the messengers, and that I get to hang out with you guys and share my humble place down here in the swamp. And if my health will increase as it seems to be doing, a lot of this mess that I'm afraid to show you will be gone soon. So I now have some of my brain back, and thanks to you all and being able to have chats, it's allowed my brain to start functioning again in ways that I lost years ago when I had that traumatic brain injury. And so I thank you all for that. I'm humbled by all of you all and hanging out with me. But to wrap this up in a way, it's important that we stay tuned into this. And I know that those of you folks who hang out with me, you got it in your hearts. Stick with your faith. Don't give up. There's going to still be some bumpy times, but in the end, and this is what I was going to say before, there are several other people who are starting to use this reference, that the apocalypse is not the end. It is the end of times. And as I stated several times in the last few videos, in Revelations, if you read to the end, there's 1,000 years of peace beyond that. Now, 1,000 years could be 1,000 years. It could be a millennium. But in the old days, 1,000 years was a really long time. Where I've stated this before. Is it really only 1,000 years? And then I got the message. It was like it seemed like 1,000 years to John or James or whoever wrote it back then. 1,000 years is like a millennium to us because our concept of time has changed. So, with that said, though, but there is light at the end of all of the tunnels. None of them say that the earth is going to blow up. We're going to be affected by this, that, and the other thing. But there is one thing that is true. All of us in this 3D reality are going to die at some point. So we just need to quit fearing it and just stay prepared. And it's really not hard to walk the walk. If you really have compassion for other people, then you don't need to make it up. You know, if you feel a little lackadaisical, then get up off yourself and go find, something to do to rectify it. If you think, well, maybe there is something I could do. Maybe there is, quote, brethren, as is stated in that chapter of the Bible. Maybe there are brethren out there who need clothes. Maybe I've got clothes. If I could drive to town very well, I need to clean out some of the clothes I got and just go donate it to a homeless shelter or something. Not necessarily turn it into goodwill, but at least that. At least recycle, because I got so much clothes, that I've had over the years. I have a lot of clothes because I used to do a lot of different characters. So I've got different color shirts and I have different kind of styles and different kind of jackets and things. And some of these were costumes that I wore in plays. But to the point, though, do I really need them now? And if I needed something, couldn't I just go down to Goodwill, where I probably bought it anyway, and get something that would be like it? Or do I have to hold on to it? So for me, it's, do I need to hold on to all these physical things? Or is there some practical in between? I'm working on that myself. So it's like, I'm borderline hoarder in some ways. And it's been a hard thing to like, oh, some bitch, I'm like that person on that movie. Oh, I don't want to be like that. And how I got here is like, well, it's a long story, but to the point is that at least I realize it, and I'm working on it. My kitchen got cleaned up the other night. Scrubbed the floor several times. Couldn't believe it how dirty it really was. And cleaned up some things, rearranged some stuff, and I realized, oh my God, that really wasn't that hard. So I just needed a little self motivation rather than, oh, what am I going to do with this crap? So I have mental battles all the time. But at the same point, in my heart, I know I'm not going to give up with these menial tasks, and I'm not going to give up with getting my brain better. I'm going to still work every day like I'm getting younger instead of older. I started doing more little exercises and little weird, stretches. Not to try to prove anything, but I refuse to die old and crankety and whatever. It's my choice. So if I can do better, maybe I can do better for someone else. Maybe I could get out or do something. um, Jim said it best. This is the end, my friend. Restoration, Richard Marks, and sing your Willie Nelson. Oh, who is that? Rick and Delaney. Hi, how are you? Jim Morrison says no more Shaman blues for you. I've been sharing my stuff. Yes, very good. Appreciate your essence. Thank you, Melanie. It's popping planetar blast. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you all. And it's just nice that you guys would stop by and hang out with me. And and I really don't convey this enough, but you all keep me humble. And there are times when like today, I hadn't really planned on doing this, but the rain was come and go, and they said, sit down and have this conversation. And I was like, well, okie dokie, why not? Well, it started to rain. It's a good thing I didn't get started on something, because now I'd be in the middle of something and it'd be raining on me. Not that it hurts, but what I was fixing to do, I don't need rain. And it looks like we got some darker clouds over there. So, but anyway, um, but to the point, sometimes I just have to listen to spirit. And sometimes if I've got a task to do, sometimes I just have to go out and sit up underneath a tree and listen to what they're telling me. And it's like, but what good does that do me in the long run or short run or whatever? And it's like, because at some point, Hawkeye, I'm going to have to relate a story to someone that's going to help them understand themselves. Because it isn't about me. It's how I can tell a story in such a way that it's the truth as far as I can feel it, and you guys feel it too. And so we continue. There's a hole in the clouds right there, almost like a heart. Interesting. I don't think it'll pick up, but no, it doesn't. It's almost heart shaped. That was just interesting. But to the point, though, that it's not just that we hang out together, but when we are with other people, that we share our compassion in whatever way we can, just by smiling to other people, simply by not hating anymore, simply by changing our attitude. We are making a difference on the planet. Other people are starting to pick it up. And somebody else was speaking about the hate on hate. And that, if we just quit talking about hate. And I did a video the other day about that. And I was like, now, is that synchronicity? Am I listening to? Are we all listening to the same angels? And what is the message coming through? And the message that's coming through is, yeah, we're in crappy times, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, and that keeps coming through. More people are starting to pick that up. It's like, well, yeah, but we're in end times. But now people are starting to go, wait a minute, there's a little bit more into the Bible. Oh, the light at the end of the tunnel. So we just need to keep that up, y'all. And thank you. Blessings to you. Keep up the good work. Maintain the faith. I don't know how else to say, you know, hang on and stay really connected to your spirit self, to your higher self. That sometimes Jesus said, you know not who I am. I could be a stranger and you pass me by. And if you ignore me, then you're ignoring the Father. And in the shaman way, it's that if someone needs your help, even though they may even be a rich person, if you can stop and provide a service or help somebody out or whatever, or go out of your way, or whatever that may be, in whatever happens in your realm, the biggest thing is that you pay attention to it and you follow your heart, you follow your spirit, you follow your soul, you follow who you really are. And without the spirit, the body would be dead. And without the body, the spirit would be dead. But the spirit is more important. So I love you all too. It's getting dark. Skeeters are really chomping on my feet. And I send blessings and honor to all of you. So I'll close with my usual prayer. As the sun goes down and it starts to rain a little more, got some, actually, it's raining pretty good on the laptop. I'll take it in and dump the water out. No, it's not quite that bad. But frogs are out eating the bugs. Come on out, little buddy. Toad frog. Okie doke. So it's interesting about life and that it continues. And even if the planet were destroyed, just got to say that, you know what? We're still spirits. We're still going to exist in this universe. And love to you, Melanie, Rick, and Delaney, and whoever else is on and whoever else comes later. So I close with the prayer, as always, and I love it, actually. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will accept and receive the healing, the teaching, and the knowledge from the universe. I continue to pray that you, your friends, your family, your relatives, and all of your relations will continue to receive and accept the blessings from the universe. And I continue to pray that everyone that you touch, meet, otherwise interact with, now and in the future, will accept and receive these blessings and the healings from the universe. So, with that, adios from South Georgia. A little bit of rainy skies, but it's not too bad. Still going to find something to do, maybe in the garden. So, love to you all. Thank you very much. Oh, my goodness, at the skaters coming out. Time to go back in the house. So much love to you all. Thank you. Thank you. Continue to spread the goodness, and love will conquer. Remember, despite what comes in and out of the Bible, the meek shall inherit the earth. And it's in all sayings, all prophecies, the meek shall inherit the earth. Yep. TTFN, ta ta for Dow. So be safe, be calm, be glad, be happy, spread a little bit of cheer. Oops. Something got wet. Uh-oh. My pad got wet. It won't. There we go. Gonna have to get out of the rain. Whoops. Rain's affecting my keypad. Not a good thing. That was interesting. Computer froze up trying to end it. Yeah, it got dark quickly. Yep. Well, the clouds came over. I should have had a little bit more light, but the